Jerusalem, a freezing night. The sweat of blood dries on his forehead. Judas steps out of the shadows for the traitor's kiss, and the disciples sprint away like rats. The Roman guard draws cold iron, but the Lamb refuses to stretch his wrists for the ropes. The sky cracks open. The Lamb decided he wasn't going to die. The true villain here isn't the Roman iron or the corrupt high priests. The real suspect is your own modern, domestic illusion of a weak, predictable God engineered to fit your comfort zone. We've turned the Creator into a soft, internet-friendly concept just to validate our fragile egos. It's an absolute psychological trap. You face the crushing weight of existential silence completely alone, yet you expect the ultimate power of the universe to behave like a harmless coach. The danger is real. This toxic dependency on a sanitized, toothless version of reality has left your mind completely defenseless. It's an arrogant, deep-seated lack disguised as faith, leaving you utterly blind to the raw, untamed fury that actually governs the cosmos. If you watch this to the end, you will look into the mirror and discover the terrifying reality of what happens when the mercy you exploit is permanently turned off. This isn't a safe Sunday sermon. It's a clinical look at power without a filter. Subscribe to the channel right now if you have the stomach for the raw, unvarnished truth. If you want a comfortable fairy tale, get out now. What if the crucifixion never happened? Because the defendant was, quite literally, the sole architect of physics and time. Imagine stepping out of your exhausting daily grind, looking at your screen, and facing the freezing truth that your fragile reality is completely insignificant. The air goes cold. Failure isn't a theory. It becomes a violent physical weight crushing your chest. It is the sickening, hollow ache in your stomach at 3 a.m. and the dry throat of absolute isolation. You are forced to realize that the universe doesn't operate on your soft modern rules. In this dark timeline, the Lamb completely discards the script of mercy. There is no comfort, no warm embrace, and absolutely no rescue mission coming for your bruised ego. You are left entirely alone in the dark, staring down the barrel of a cosmic force that controls your very heartbeat, while the illusion of your importance shatters into pieces. This is the exact moment the cosmic cage snaps shut. Forget the clean, choreographed fights of a Hollywood movie. This is a cold, clinical execution of human arrogance. When the Roman guard moves in, they don't collide with a rebel leader. They collide head-on with the absolute raw physics of the universe. Jesus doesn't draw a blade. He just stands there, and the air itself turns into a fucking anvil. The atmospheric pressure spikes so violently that the chests of the centurions instantly cave in, their lungs gasping for oxygen that has suddenly turned into liquid lead. The elite steel of their short swords begins to boil, melting like cheap wax right over their knuckles, fusing flesh to burning metal. The psychological collapse in that garden happens in a fraction of a second. Malchus and the corrupt vanguard of Caiaphas don't even have the time to scream before the ground beneath their boots completely liquefies. The earth opens up like a hungry jaw, swallowing their armor, their titles, and their fragile human authority into a pitch-black abyss. It is a surgical, terrifying display of pure, divine wrath, the ultimate proof that human strength is a pathetic, hollow joke. The system taught these men to believe that their weapons and their status made them invincible, but the cosmos doesn't give a single fuck about their rules. They wanted a vulnerable target to crucify so they could feel powerful, but instead, they harvested an unmitigated nightmare. Their minds break under the clinical horror of absolute power before their bodies even hit the dirt. You want to talk about isolation? Imagine realizing your entire empire is just wood to be burned. The soldiers in that garden were vaporized into a handful of gray ash, but the true collective nightmare was only beginning to leak into the very fountains of Jerusalem. The smoke clears from the garden, and the reality of the shift sets in like an icy fever. The contract of mercy has been torn to pieces. Take a look at the wreckage of this new timeline, and suddenly the wine turned into water, the source of spiritual ecstasy. The joy of the miracle completely dries up. The fountain of grace is replaced by a flat, freezing stagnation, and the wound did not heal. The pain of the human condition no longer has a savior willing to shoulder the burden. The sickness of the flesh and the deep modern rot of the mind become permanent, open scars, festering in the chest of a species abandoned to its own devices. And the clean became soiled. Pure intentions are gone. Without a sacrifice on that wooden beam, there is no fucking redemption. Guilt turns into a black, thick crust, an impossible stain that sticks to the soul of every single disciple who ran like a coward into the dark. This is where the psychological meat grinder hits the remaining followers. They are trapped in a vicious loop of silent, suffocating panic. They expected a tragic martyrdom, a clean memory to romanticize, but instead, they get a blank wall of absolute abandonment. The anxiety is clinical. It's a tight, physical knot in the throat that stops them from breathing. They realize that their desperate need for validation, their desire to be seen as heroes next to a peaceful master, was a pathetic illusion. The greatest psychological execution of human history happens exactly here, and on the third day, nobody rose. Why? Because nobody managed to kill him. The tomb remains empty because it was never occupied. The dawn of the third day isn't a celebration of hope. It is the official launch of a cold, unyielding theocratic empire where your precious free will is the very first thing to be put against the wall. The world you think you know is wiped out, and the political elites in the city are about to find out that a king who doesn't bleed is impossible to negotiate with. The news of the garden spreads through the stone corridors of Jerusalem like a lethal virus. Pontius Pilate wakes up to a report that defies the entire manual of Roman conquest. An entire elite garrison, completely vaporized, turned into a silent pile of gray ash without a single sword being swung. The political machinery of the ancient world suffers an immediate, catastrophic stroke. In Rome, Emperor Tiberius is forced to face a reality that no emperor had ever conceptualized, that his invincible legions, his massive naval fleets, and his global economic tax systems are entirely useless against a single entity who can boil the blood inside a soldier's veins with a whispered word. The psychological collapse within the halls of power is total. High priest, Caiaphas, and the religious elite lock themselves inside the Holy of Holies, weeping, sweating, and praying to a sky that has turned into a cold, iron mirror. They spent their entire lives mastering the art of superficial authority, manipulating public opinion, and hiding their corruption behind pristine white robes and heavy golden rituals. It's the exact same dynamic as the modern, high-status influencer or politician who builds a career on a fragile foundation of fake appearances and manufactured prestige. But you cannot gaslight the architect of reality. Jesus doesn't ride into the city on a humble donkey to be judged by hypocrites. He enters wrapped in a terrifying atmospheric distortion that blinds anyone who dares to look directly at him. The veil of the temple isn't torn in half by a tragic death. It is violently ripped away by a living presence that executes religious corruption on the spot. Every single institution built on human vanity collapses into dust. Roma and the temple elite, bend their knees not out of newfound faith, but out of absolute gut-wrenching terror. They are forced to swallow the bitter truth of their own total insignificance. But the price the ordinary citizens are about to pay for this forced peace is far more devastating than any physical chains. The machine of human society is completely redesigned, but the result is a frozen nightmare. Wars instantly stop across the globe. Famine is eradicated with a single command. The chaotic, violent noise of human history is replaced by an eerie, suffocating silence. The modern dream of a perfect, orderly world is achieved, but it comes with a lethal catch. Your free will is dead. In this dark timeline, Jesus assumes the global throne not as a shepherd, but as a clinical, absolute sovereign. The psychological impact on the population is devastating. How do you find the motivation to wake up, work, or create when the ruler of the planet literally reads your unspoken thoughts and can turn off your heartbeat from a distance if you step out of line? This is the ultimate execution of the human ego. The system of this cold utopia doesn't need your opinions, your viral videos, or your desperate digital validation. The algorithm of life is now dictated by an unyielding divine presence that demands total, robotic compliance. The crushing isolation of the modern man shifts from a lack of connection to a complete loss of identity. You are no longer a unique individual fighting for a place in the sun. You are just a monitored data point in a perfectly managed, terrifyingly quiet ecosystem. The social anxiety of this world is a permanent, physical tightness in the chest. Every human relation becomes fake, calculated, and driven by the raw fear of stepping into the radar of an all-seeing eye. The corporate structures and political games are wiped out, but the human spirit rots underneath the weight of an enforced perfection. We wanted a world without pain, but we harvested a cage where even your private doubts are treated as high treason. It is a peace guaranteed by absolute, unmitigated terror, a flawless timeline that is far too dangerous to ever be recorded in the official archives of humanity. This is where the matrix of history pulls its final, desperate card. If this dark timeline had been allowed to leak into the mainstream consciousness, the entire structure of human civilization would have dissolved out of pure, unadulterated panic. The official records you read today aren't a reflection of what actually happened. They are a carefully curated, sanitized lie designed to keep you pacified, scrolling, and safely asleep in your tiny, insignificant routine. The global elites and the hidden guardians of history buried the truth deep beneath the sand, burning every single parchment that documented the night the Lamb decided to rule by iron. They needed you to believe in a soft, distant, and deeply predictable version of the divine so you would keep playing their rigged economic games without looking up at the sky in terror. The psychological betrayal of this cover-up is absolute. You've been trained to view your daily anxiety, your loneliness, and your hollow search for digital clout as the ultimate human struggle. But it's all a manufactured distraction to keep you from realizing the volatile nature of the reality you are playing with. The Lamb didn't change his nature. He is simply executing a patience that has a definitive expiration date. The conspiracy isn't that a higher power doesn't exist. It's the terrifying fact that the sovereign of the cosmos is entirely indifferent to your modern social constructs, your fake prestige, and your delicate emotional triggers. You are standing on a thin crust of mercy, acting like you own the place, completely blind to the fact that the clock is ticking down to zero. The time for warnings is over, and you are still treating your fragile, temporary life like a goddamn rehearsal. The screen is about to fade to black, and the cold silence of your room will crawl back in. Nobody is coming to rewrite your script. The universe doesn't care about your digital tears, and a patient God won't reward your deliberate stagnation. If you close this video, slide back into your comfort zone, and keep chasing plastic validation like a mindless NPC, you deserve the suffocating anxiety eating you alive. You are actively choosing to be an Ontario, a slave to a cheap system that views you as nothing but a data point. Stop running from reality. Look at your broken life and take the fucking wheel. Subscribe if you have the guts to face the raw truth every single week. If not, keep bleeding for ghosts